Hello, I'm Forrest Shaw, and I've got a problem. How is everybody doing out there? Hopefully well. If you aren't doing well, I hope you feel well soon. You can do it. How am I doing? I'm assuming somebody asked while driving their car or sitting in their office. I'm doing okay. Thanks for asking. I'm in Florida. Doing shows in Florida. That is great. Speaking of that, come and see me if you're in Florida. I'll be here for a while. This week, I will be at the Comedy Inn. That is November 6th to the 8th. Those shows are sold out, so don't even bother. But, you can stand out the door and put your ear to the door and listen in. So that's in Miami. Those are, just bragging. Next week, November 12th and 13th, I'll be in Fort Myers. It's a Wednesday and Thursday in Fort Myers at Snappers Comedy Club. Please go to that. I need people to go to that show. If you know anybody in the Fort Myers area, Naples, anywhere down the west coast of Florida, tell them to drive down there and see me. I promise you it's going to be a good show. Next week, November 14th and 15th, I'll be at the Sad Man Comedy Club in Boca Raton. The week after that, I'll be in Comedy Key West, November 19th through the 22nd. That's going to be dope. It's going to be Key West. It's going to be sick. Then I'll be in Marco Island, November 29th. Ocala, Florida, the Marion Theater, December 6th. If you know anybody in Ocala or Gainesville, anyway, tell them to come out there. I'm doing a theater. It's a 250-seat theater. Don't know why I booked that. Can I fill it? TBD. This is a big one. November 30th. Just backtracking. I'll be at Gramps in Wynwood in Miami. This is a Miami show that I put on the books because a lot of people couldn't get in to see me at the Comedy Inn this week. So November 30th is my birthday show. My birthday is December 1st, the next day. That'll be at 7:30 p.m. at Gramps in Wynwood. All of this information is on my website. Go there and buy a ticket. Come see me. That's like a 70-seat venue, so that should go pretty quick. So please come on out. I'm also in Fort Pierce in December. I'm in Winter Haven. I'm at Side Splitters and what do you call it? What's it called? Wesley Chapel, north of Tampa. I got all sorts of gigs. And then on the way back, I'm doing some shows around New Orleans. My first one is on January 3rd. It's on my website, forrestshaw.net. Go there, check out stuff on my website. You can also donate to the podcast if you want to. In the podcast section, there's a donate button there. Please come see me. Lots of opportunities. There's even more shows than that. Follow me on Instagram if you're already on Forrest Shaw, and I'll be posting the shows. But please try and come out and see me. I just did shows in Sarasota, Florida, McCurdy's. A lot of people came out to that. That was dope. So thank you for giving me that. That's my first time at the club there. All right, cool. Oh, and I will be announcing it, I think next week, but I will be in Australia. I'll be at the Adelaide Fringe Festival. I'll give you all the specific details, but I believe it's February 17th through March 1st. I'm doing a show called The Ocean Hates You. It's a marine biology themed show. So I'm going to be at the Adelaide Fringe. I think it's February 17th through March 1st. I'll get the exact locations and all that information soon. And then I'll be in Melbourne at the Comics Lounge, February 4th through the 7th. I believe I'm also coming to Newcastle, and I'll probably be doing 1 or 2 shows in Sydney on this trip. I will not be going anywhere else. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be able to make it to Perth or Brisbane. Some people have asked me about that. But I will not be able to do that this trip, but I plan on coming back and doing that. So yeah, I'll be announcing that, I think next week, but those are the dates that I just said. It'll be on my website and stuff like that. This week's podcast, as you can tell by the title, is a solo episode, solo number 5. Yeah, I recorded 4 episodes before I left on this road trip because I drove all the way to Florida, and it occurred to me this week. I was like, "Holy cow!" That the episode with Mike just came out, Glazer, and that's the last one I have. So here I am, Monday night, getting it done for you, the peeps. I don't know if it's going to be a very long episode or not, but I did want to talk about. I think that's all the house cleaning or whatever you call it that I had to say. Yeah, I think that's it. Subscribe and rate the podcast. That's another one. I always ask people, please, if you're watching this on YouTube, just throw a comment down there. I don't even care if it's like, yay, nay, whatever, just something. I have the same guy, and I appreciate him, John. I appreciate you, John, commenting on every YouTube. So please comment on there. And please throw some comments in Apple Podcasts. There's only a couple in there, and Spotify needs some help. Please do that. It does really help the podcast and is starting to grow. So thank you for everyone that's listening that's new as well. As you guys know, I'm a gambling addict. I wanted to talk a little bit about gambling today. It's in the news. It's in the news big time. If you are not paying attention to the news, or maybe you live in another country and it hasn't made it there, but I think it's pretty big news. There are some high profile NBA. Well, there's a player and then a former player that is now a coach that were arrested by the FBI and charged with different crimes. They kind of got lumped in together in the same press conference, and everyone, I think a lot of people thought it was like the same thing was going on, but there's a guy, Chauncey Billups. Well, first of all, there's Terry Rozier. Let's start with that. Terry Rozier is a player. He plays currently for my favorite team, the Miami Heat. He's not playing right now. He's not playing right now. I don't think he's playing. He got arrested, but then did he rejoin the team? No, he can't possibly be playing. But for years, this has kind of been going on. There was some insinuation that he was not fixing games, but fixing prop bets. If you don't know what a prop bet is, I think I've explained them on this podcast. I will explain them again real briefly. Is, you can bet on how many points someone's going to score in a game, over or under that, and they'll give you a line. They'll say that player is going to score 21 points. You want to go over or under that? It's usually a half point in there, so that there's not a push or a tie. And how many rebounds are they going to get? How many assists? If you watch the movie Uncut Gems, it's famously at the end. That is what he is betting on. Adam Sandler's character, I forget his name now. He's betting on Kevin Garnett to get a certain amount of rebounds and score a certain amount of points and so forth. And so is it easy to fix a basketball game? There's a lot of people that I know that don't like the NBA. They always claim it's fixed. And then, you could point to there's scandals where a referee Tim Donaghy was arrested. He's in prison for, for involvement he had with gambling and the game. That would be easier to control the outcome of a game if you're a referee. Certainly if you're a star player, but what's made it really easy, or what has happened, and what Terry Rozier was arrested for, is prop bets, which has become all the rage. Talked about it many times on this podcast. FanDuel, DraftKings, BetESPN. There's a billion of those apps out there, and those rely heavy on those prop bets. Over-unders on points scored, how many catches a player gets in the NFL, how many assists a player gets in the NBA. I mean, how many goals the team scores in NHL. I mean, every sport has these prop bets, and when their individual players are involved, of course they can affect it. So what he's accused of is taking money and then, in one instance, taking himself out of the game, saying he was injured. And at that same game, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars more were gambled than they normally are on a prop bet of a player of Terry Rozier's magnitude. He's a very good player in the NBA, but he's not a superstar, So, in any given game, someone like Luka Doncic or LeBron James or, someone like that might have lots of money bet on their prop bets. But these smaller players, they sniffed it out. I mean, these companies that take those bets, I think, flagged those bets and said, hey, there's a lot of money put on Terry Rozier for some reason in this game. And then he took himself out of the game with an injury. And I think this happened more than once. And I also think they found money transfers into account for him and stuff like that. So the interesting thing is the NBA did their own investigation on this years ago, because this has kind of been floating around, that these allegations, I want to say last year or the year before, and they said, oh, we didn't find anything wrong. And I don't know. People were like, well, how come they didn't find anything wrong? I don't know, because of the NBA, and it behooves them not to have a player being arrested for, fixing prop bets. It's not good for their brand. That would be my first thinking of why the NBA would do that. And then people are like, he makes a lot of money. He makes millions of dollars. I want to say his contract's like a $23 million a year contract, something like that. Why would he need this money? I don't know. I think people always assume I had money. Like I make enough money, so I'd always have money. And I gambled it away several different times in my life. So I don't know what he's done with his money. I don't know if he was in some sort of gambling debt or he was something else. Maybe he needed the money, but I think they said he owed $8 million to the IRS. They're saying he owed it, but I mean, he can obviously pay it with his salary, but he just didn't pay his taxes, I guess is what it is, which I get that. So, that was like one of the insinuations with him is like, oh, he needs the money to pay off this $8 million debt. Maybe. I think everyone's making a lot of speculations on how much money does he have in his bank account versus how much money does he owe the IRS. And by the way, that money compounds quarterly. I do know that personally. You owe money to the IRS. Compounds quarterly at a very high rate. So $8 million will become $9 million, will become 10 million pretty quick too. So, they, depending on what he did with his money and how good he was and not good with his money, maybe he didn't have the money. Maybe this was a way to try and start paying this off. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I don't think we ever will know the answer because it's probably going to strike a deal or you're not going to know what's going on. They're not going to release those documents. Someone might get it out. I don't know. So that's going on. I think that's interesting, but I wouldn't say more importantly, but the one that really caught my attention more was Chauncey Billups, who is a former player, great player. Has won NBA title. He might even have the NBA Finals MVP that year. I'm not sure. He was really good in the finals. The Detroit Pistons. He's now the coach of the Portland Trail Blazers. And he was arrested in Oregon and taken into custody. He's not the coach right now, so there's an interim coach while he's going through this. And he is implicated in rigged poker games that were being run by the mob. I think it's 3 or 4 different crime families. The Banananos, the Magassis, I don't know. I forget which ones they are. I could look it up. I have like oh yeah, here we go. Nocella. Oh no, that's the guy's name. I was racist. I just saw something that looked Italian, and I go, "It's the Nocella family." That was just somebody's. Anyways, I'll try and find that as we're talking about it. But he is what they call him face cards. They'll have celebrities lure people in to play these really high stakes poker games. I believe they were the ones he was involved in were in Vegas and Miami and New York. Sounds right. And they have transactions. That is what they say, that of deposits of like 50 grand, I think, for each of the times that he had done this. And they lured people in, and in these games, they had tables with X-ray kind of machines where they could read cards, card readers. They had glasses that would be able to see specially marked cards that would tell the players that were in on the fix, like, hey, that's an ace or a queen or a king or a 2 or a 3. You could see the cards with these glasses. All sorts of technology and stuff, and supposedly millions, I want to say 8, 9, 10 million of dollars were taken from unsuspecting people. And why would he do it? People keep asking. This is an interesting one because, number one, why would they need Chauncey Billups? Why wouldn't they just do this on their own? Why do they need this quote unquote face card? Well, I'll tell you why. One of the reasons is people like to gamble with celebrities. If you have a friend in your life that gambles a lot, whether they're a gambling addict or they're a gambling enthusiast or whatever, they certainly have a story. I guarantee you they have a story. One time we were at the craps table in Vegas and Tiger Woods was there, and they're very excited to tell you that. And they're even excited to tell you that they lost money to celebrity. It's a very interesting thing. I have a story like that. Years ago, and I might have told the story in the podcast about how I when I was shooting a movie, I was an extra in a movie called Jungle Juice that has never seen the light of day. The post-production money for that movie was embezzled and that never was finished. Don't think it ever will be. This was, I want to say, in 2002 or 2001, somewhere around there. 2000. I got to look up that, but a buddy of mine, Dean, was a production, worked as a producer on this movie and asked me if I wanted to be an extra in a movie where you fly down to the Turks and Caicos and you just get to hang out on sailboats on the beach and you're going to be a background actor. And in the movie was Christopher Walken had a very small role in it, but it was Robert Wagner, who famously played number 2 in the Austin Powers movies, if you knew him, and Morgan Fairchild, who was huge in the 80s. I don't think has done a lot since then, but she was in this movie, and there was the 2 lead actors were not very were not huge actors at the time, and the director was Tony, gosh, but he directed Kiss Me Guido, which had some critical success. But the plot of the movie was there was a guy that was left at the altar, and um and his best buddy said, "Hey, I know you're not getting married now, but let's, you know what? Don't wait, put your honeymoon to waste. It's already booked. Let's go." And so he takes his, his grieving buddy, and they go down to I think it might have been set in the Turks and Caicos, maybe it was the Bahamas. They go down to the Caribbean paradise, and there's all these, he's trying to get him involved. Like, hey, here's a woman, here's a thing. You could find the love of your life. And it's supposed to be like a romantic comedy where he ends up falling in love with his life. There's one penultimate scene where they go to an island that I was going to be an extra in it. And it was called Jungle Juice because Jungle Juice is a reference to it's like a punch that has like a real high liquor content, usually grain alcohol or something like that. And I believe in this particular movie, the Jungle Juice was not only strong, but was spiked with ecstasy or some drug or something. And then wacky hijinks ensued, whatever. All I did in this movie, I came down there. It was all expenses paid trip. I also got paid to be on the movie. And I also brought ecstasy with me because he told me to bring ecstasy because people wanted it. And I sold a bunch of ecstasy that was fronted to me. I think I might have told the story. And then I had a bunch of money and I gambled. I did very expensive long distance calls back to gamble on football games that I couldn't watch in the Turks and Caicos because they had in no way, shape, or form back then had any streaming services or any of that stuff. And then I also had a ton of cash when I was there. And lucky me, the only casino on the whole island of Providenciales at the time, in the Turks and Caicos, was at the hotel I was staying at. So what did I want to do? I went and gambled in the casino, and I gambled all that money away, and I owed money to the drug dealer and the bookie, and it was a very bad situation when I got back. I think I've told that story, and I might have even briefly said that when I went into the casino, Robert Wagner and Christopher Walken, and there was another actor that was in there, were gambling, and I sat down to gamble at the table with them and was very excited to be gambling with celebrities and lose my money, not to them, but to the casino. So I can tell you, there's a long way to go and tell you that, why would people care if Chauncey Billups was a face of this? Because he is a famous athlete, probably even a Hall of Fame athlete, finals MVP, etc. Finals winner, at least. Somebody could write to me, tell me if he was the MVP. I could look it up. I'm not going to. I think he was. So 100% I could see how why that would be. He's current coach in the NBA. So I get that. This is all allegedly, it's still they were arrested. They have a lot of evidence on them. We'll see what happens. But it's messed up. He's made over $100 million in his lifetime. I think the questions that always come out are like, why would he do this? Again, I don't know what his situation's like. And if you don't know anything about sports, I'm sorry for this podcast, but I'm explaining stuff as best I can. But there's athlete after athlete. I think athletes overall are better with their money now, but historically, there's Antoine Walker. He played for the Miami. He made over $100 million at the time he played, which was a while ago, which would be even worth more now. And he was broke. There's a documentary called Broke. It's by the Raconteur group, which is Billy Corbin's and Alfred Spellman, the two guys that do. They did Cocaine Cowboys. They did The U, and great documentarians. And the whole thing, it's broke, and it's all about athletes going broke. Highly recommend that. Watch that. It's very interesting, but it also just shows you. And I do think the modern athlete is way better with their money and way more careful and about their investments, things like that. But man, you don't know. I've had a lot of money before, and anytime I've had money, and a lot of athletes gamble with. Anytime that I've had a big chunk of money, I have never been one like, I'm going to save this. I'm going to put this in and invest it. Like, so I can totally see how you could make $100 million and lose it all. That is not out of the realm of possibility at all. So I don't know how to speak to that. Why these famous athletes, coaches, et cetera, would do this. But I will say this, and this is the reason I really want to talk about this, because I've talked about this a little bit in podcasts before, but it has just really been bothering me more and more and more as time goes on, is celebrities and gambling, and specifically these betting apps. Because the question why would Chauncey Billups do this? Well, they paid him money. And why would people want to gamble with a celebrity? I just gave you an example of why I did it for no reason. I know you can ask people that are gamblers, and they'll have a story about a celebrity and gambling and how exciting they think that is. But these gambling apps, the commercials are just chock full. Everybody is a huge celebrity. I have this list here. BetMGM, Make It Legendary campaigns. John Hamm, A-list actor. A-list. Kevin Hart, A-list. Billions of movies. I think the highest earning comedian in the world. I don't even want to look up what these people are worth, but they are worth hundreds of millions of dollars. These people. He appears. He's a DraftKings spokesperson. Television, radio, social media. I see him everywhere for that shit. Jamie Foxx. I don't know if he is anymore. BetMGM. I think John Hamm's taken that over from him. Maybe when Jamie Foxx, he was ill for a while. I think that maybe they stopped having him there, but those commercials still stick in my fucking head. I've talked about him. Vanessa Hudgens appeared with him. Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal. I've seen them. Different online betting platforms. I think FanDuel, Barkley is for FanDuel. Peyton and Eli Manning, NFL stars. They've been Caesar Sportsbook. Drew Barrymore, Jason Alexander, Ty Pennington. They're in Acumen's for different social games, like little World Series of Poker, Caesar Slots games, stuff like that. Jason Alexander is going to be worth $1 bazillion fucking dollars from Seinfeld. Snoop Dogg. How much money is that guy worth? He's a collaboration with a crypto betting platform, with celebrity branded like slot games and stuff like that. Ronaldo, Abramovich, Neymar Jr., Cristiano Ronaldo. Nobody's worth more money than that guy. He's sports betting on online poker sites. Drake is the ambassador for I think it's called Stake or something like that. Tony Hawk. I love Tony Hawk. When I saw he's been in DraftKings commercials and stuff like that. I mean, there's the list keeps going, and these are people that are worth all those people that I said. I mean, everybody I said there is worth hundreds of millions of dollars. In some cases, they're billionaires. Yeah, and they're peddling these apps and stuff. And I've said over and over, I don't think gambling should be illegal. I don't think drinking should be illegal. I think that could be allowed. I drink normally. I barely drink, but once in a while I would like a drink. So I think that that's okay. And I know people can gamble that same way. But this whole incessant bullshit where these, and the apps too, like FanDuel is, what's fucked up? DraftKings, just as a side note, I looked this up. So I was like, oh, who's the official betting app of the NFL? Is it DraftKings or FanDuel? They're both. DraftKings is the official betting, the official status for official betting app for NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, and NHL. Then I looked at FanDuel, and it's FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of several major professional sports leagues: NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL. What does that even mean if you're the official sports betting partner? Oh, also PGA Tour, WNBA, NASCAR, and the Professional Fighters League for FanDuel as well. And then you got ESPN Bet, which their whole network is about sports, and now they have a betting app. I know I go on and on about this stuff, but I just want to kind of like these celebrities, and none of them listen to this podcast. I'll never even meet any of these. I probably would. I could meet Kevin Hart. I'm in my comedian. That could happen. I mean, I don't run in the same circles as him. When I moved to LA, I did a show with him. He was already quite big, so I was like literally said hi to him. Like before he walked on stage, I just walked off. That's possible. Would I say anything to Kevin Hart if I saw him? I think I might. I'm not gonna be like, what the fuck? I don't even know if he has like a crew of bodyguard. I would assume, yeah. But I would ask him the reasoning behind that, because my opinion on why people that already have this much money do stuff like this, because that's always the question. Why would these people do that? Is because, and why would they do something that would be harming people? Like promoting these apps, because these apps are really. Some people might gamble on them normally, but they are fucking shit up. The stats aren't even ready yet. We will see in the next 5-10 years, but I can just tell you by talking to people, there are people that I know that had never gambled and they were like, oh, that messed me up when I could start gambling from my phone. So I'm just telling you from the eye test that this is a problem. So why would these people choose that? I just don't think. There's two things. I think a lot of these people have their agents, their managers, like just are constantly saying, hey, we got this, that, whatever. Do you want to do it? And they're just like, yeah. I also don't think that they really think that this is a problem. I think that when you become famous and you become very wealthy, I think no matter how hard you try and no matter where you came from, because I mean, Kevin Hart didn't come from anything. I know when he started in Philly and he didn't have anything, and I don't know all these other people, but I'm assuming a lot of these people didn't have a lot of stuff growing up. There were Neymar probably did. I don't know though, but I think you just kind of lose touch with what reality is. And like, so when you're out there and you're like, hey, right now they'll give you $500 free. You could put in $100 bet and this and that, and you could win they just think $100 is like, yeah, this is $100, whatever. I won $100 to a guy that's worked a shift on DoorDash. He made $140, and then he just immediately bets it like on a prop bet on a game where Terry Rozier fucking fakes an injury or allegedly. Brutal. And so I would say to these celebrities, if I met them, like, hey, I don't know. A lot of these celebrities might be sober on top of that, by the way. I would just say you are not helping, That's not to say that if it was just some, whatever, struggling actor, if he was out there saying that, but it does matter, I think. And I think it matters. It's the reason they had Chauncey Billups as this, quote unquote face guard. There's a reason they had him there, because that shit works. Because people feel comfortable. I'm telling you, people log on to DraftKings and Kevin Hart's there. They're not like, it's good to see Kevin Hart, but that helps. Because I can tell you this for sure. Like, man, when I used to gamble on these offshore accounts, man, there was some seedy ass shit I was gambling on. Like this stuff, I will say at least this is somewhat regulated. There's still stories of how they don't want to pay sometimes, things like that. But I was on apps that were in other countries. I don't even know what countries are at the end of the, when that little country code at the end of the URL there. I don't even know the fuck. Like some of them are Costa Rica for sure. I don't even know what countries I was dealing with. And I'm just sending money to them, hoping that if I win, I get it back. And I think I got money back when I didn't pull money out that many times. I was always gambling until I lost it, but sometimes I pull it out. But it was shady as fuck. And all these things seem shady. Like even when you go to like a casino now, I'm like, I used to like those old slot machines. I had the analog, because those they couldn't cheat you on that. I don't know why that is even a thinking that they wouldn't be able to. Not that I believe casinos overall are cheating. I think overall casinos themselves are definitely not cheating. There are some cases where they've busted some casinos doing some things, but the big dogs are not doing that shit. They don't need to. but people don't like the digital ones. Like I don't play digital blackjack because X, Y, Z. It's the same shit. So when you go on these apps and you see someone like Kevin Hart, it helps. It would help. It would have helped. Like back then, if I was on some app and like coming out of Malta or some shit, and I would have seen, like I don't know, Dan Marino or shit back then, I would have been like, oh shit, Dan Marino's part of this. Okay, cool. I guess it's legit. As if he's there working, in an office somewhere, spreadsheets and stuff. So all that shit matters. That's they pay. They're paying Kevin Hart millions of dollars to be that spokesperson for a reason, because that stuff matters. That's how advertising works. So I'm not saying, I don't want to go like ham for a pun with John Hamm and be like, fuck you. But also like, come on, step back once in a while and be like, what the fuck are you doing? Yeah. I would like to think if I was one of these celebrities that big that I wouldn't do that. But at the same time, I also understand if I had become famous back when and made all these millions of dollars, it'd be gone now. I would have gambled it. It'd have been gone when I was gambling. It'd be gone. And then I would definitely be doing these fucking commercials or working for the mob or whatever the fuck I had to do. And I think it's like, it's like what is that saying where it's eating its own tail or something? The animal, I don't know. There's some sort of proverb or some shit. I think that's part of it is like, you're doing these things to make money, to pay off this debt, to do this because you're in trouble here and XYZ, and then you're in with the mob and whatever. So I'm just kind of like spitting shit out. This is just my opinion on this. I don't have any solutions. It's not a solution-based podcast. I just wanted to talk about this because I thought about it a lot driving. Like many things with the internet, it's completely unregulated. I mean, I can't think of many things that are regulated. I do know that there's a lot of states now that have required people to put in identification to prove how old they are, so that before they can look at porn. And I can look that up. How many states? And require. I don't even know what I'm. Here we go. U.S. states. Pornography lands by region. Anyways, it's a lot of states. In the United States, at least, and as a backlash to that, the porn sites like Pornhub and whatever, and I can't remember the name, but see how they're famous. YouPorn. How could I forget that? You would think YouTube would sue YouPorn. They probably can't, but you think they would definitely want to. They basically said, well, we're not going to show porn in the state if that's the law, because we don't want it's an infringement of people's privacies and stuff. Man, I don't even have kids, but I kind of, and most of these states are pretty conservative, like, or maybe states are like, maybe the red state, but I'm kind of like, I don't know, maybe I'm getting old fashioned. I'm just kind of like, yeah, I just think the access to it for kids is so easy that why is that bad to show your ID? I get the invasion of privacy thing too. I understand that, and maybe I don't know enough about it. I'm not a huge porn guy. I've always said I'm not a huge porn guy. And I told Jim Jeffries that, and he doesn't believe me. I don't know why. It's like, whatever. What do you jerk off to? Memories? I've never jerked off. Fact. Oh, man, that would be unhealthy. So getting back to what I was saying is like the internet's, there's so little regulation in the internet. There's nothing really you can do about this. But if you are a compulsive gambler, you're a gambling addict, I think I've said this before. If you have any of these apps on your phone, go to the accounts or the settings, and there is exclusions that by law, all of these apps you have to be able to exclude yourself from. And you can exclude yourself lifetime from these apps. Some of them might have a max of 10 years or something like that. I don't know, but they all have to have by law these exclusion options. And once you do that, they are not allowed to let you back on that app. They will not let you. They won't let you gamble. They won't let you deposit money. They are legally not allowed to do that. And you can't even just say, hey, I take it back and stuff. You cannot. So that is one of the benefits of that you can do that. So if you're a gambling addict, you're trying to get clean and you've been using these apps, exclude yourself immediately. Go into FanDuel, go into DraftKings, go into ESPN, go in every single one you have. Now, the problem is a new one of these fucking apps comes up every goddamn day. There's like prize monkeys and fucking dick betters and whatever the fuck. And so you can't keep up with it. And they're all like, hey, you want $500 free? Sign up now and we'll give you, it's like, fuck off. But, it only takes a minute. I wouldn't advise that you just download them and exclude them from yourself if you're not using them, because if you're not even downloading them, don't do it. But if you have downloaded them and you even get that urge and you download them, like, I'm going to gamble, hey, remember what I said to you. Go in there and exclude yourself and then delete that fucking app. That's all you can do for now. I'm not saying that these celebrities didn't endorse it. None of these people were gambling. Certainly that's not the case. We know that. But I don't think it's helping. I think it's hurting. And I wish they knew it. And if they did know it and they didn't give a shit, then, yeah, then they're pieces of shit. But I think if they had a little bit of education and they realized, like, hey, because that's another thing. I think people that are famous or celebrities sometimes saying, like, no one really gives a fuck what I say. They don't think they're as influential as they are. They are. Sound really old saying that shit. It's like, but it does matter. So, anyways, that was a lot of rambling. I don't know if that was any good or not, but we did it. There's a couple questions that were sent in to me. I'm going to answer, and they kind of lead into this. I will always answer your questions. I've done some episodes of that before. So please send them in to me. I have a contact form on my website. You can send them in there. You can send them to me these were sent to me on Instagram. I saw them on there. Find me somewhere or put them in the comment section. How about that on YouTube? Or in, I guess that's the best place. You could do it in the Apple podcast. I don't check that every week though. First question is, how is your relationship with money now compared to how you valued it during your addiction? I still have a terrible relationship with money. Sometimes it's better than others, but I'm not good with it. I tend to spend it all when I get it. And that's like as a defense mechanism I got, where I was like, okay, if I spend it all on stuff that I should spend it all, then I can't gamble it. So then I would buy something and then I would pawn that and then gamble that. So it was really pennies on the dollar. So it was a good system a lot of times. But so I'm a lot better now than I was before, but I've never really had a good relationship with money. I've never valued it the way you're supposed to. I was never taught to do that either. So I think it's a combination of between me being a gambler and not even having that instilled in me and understanding the true value of money and how it works. So I still don't really know how it works. I don't even know, investments and things like that. I mean, I understand the basics of stuff, but so it's not good. And I think that most gamblers are that way. I think you have to be when you're a gambler because if you look at the money as real, which it is, but if you do that, then it's harder to gamble. Because I always hear people say that. They're like, oh, I gambled $10 and it made me so sick that I lost that $10. I'm like, oh, wow, you really were thinking about that as $10, where I was just like, I'm just gambling. Hi, I lost $1,000 or more, and that's why there's two reasons. I mean, there's one reason that they use chips in a casino is because they don't want money just flying around everywhere. Handing money back and forth. That just is inconvenient. But really convenient for them is a chip, even though it looks sort of like money, it isn't money. It's plastic. And you kind of forget, like you could have one chip in your hand that's $5,000. And it's $5,000, but psychologically, it doesn't feel like it's $5,000, even though it is $5,000. It's, the only money you'll ever see on a table at a casino, sometimes they have a 50-cent piece because they're going to make change for $1, when they're paying somebody. But they take all that money and they tuck it in the box. You've never been in a casino. You hand them the cash. You got to do everything in cash. They want the cash. And then they count out and they jam it in that box that's like locked. And then the guys with guns come and get that. So, Yeah. When you were placing bets, is another question. Did you assign a real world value to money, or did it just feel like numbers on a screen, so to speak? I think I kind of just answered that. No, I never felt like real money. When you see those chips, it doesn't feel like real money. When you put in a digital bet, it doesn't feel like money. When I would bet with the bookie, I wasn't even giving him money. I was just saying, "Oh, I'll take $500 on blah blah blah, whatever." Um, no, never feels like you start to think it's part of the relationship with money that I have. Like when you have to tell yourself when you've lost thousands of dollars in one night that like, oh, it doesn't matter. It's just money. I'll just make that back. And then you develop that unhealthy relationship with money and you develop that disrespect for it, which is bad. Last question here was, did you have a specific goal with gambling? For example, a financial target, or was it more about winning just to fund the next bet? Yeah, no financial goals. That's like, no. I mean, you'd be down money, so you're chasing. That's what they call chasing. So if you lost $5,000, you'd be like, well, I'm going to try and make that back. And nothing worse than trying to chase and get your money back. And sometimes you get it back. I have stories of where I was down to nothing and I made tons of money back. But I have 6 times, 7 times, 10 times the amount of stories where that didn't happen. Maybe 20 times the amount of stories where that didn't happen. And I chased it. And then even to the point where like I could have lost 10 grand in a night. These are just fiction numbers I'm throwing out there I could have lost 10 grand in a night and I have $100 left in my account to my name. And I was like, well, let me get that out. And with the fee, I can only get $80 out. And let's see if I can turn 80 into 10 grand. And do you know the end of that story? I think you do. It did not turn into 10 grand. I could even sometimes get that 80 up to maybe $1,000 by some miracle. And then I would just lose it. Like I wouldn't even walk out with that 1,000. Again, these are all just made up numbers, but they're real still. So I think the target, you always had fantasies. That's a big thing with compulsive gambling is you have these fantasies of what you're going to do if you win a jackpot or make money or whatever. Oh, if I make all this money, I can pay off all these debts back and I can, buy a nice purse for my girlfriend or something. And sometimes you might do that. You might win a lot of money and you pay off all your debts. But, I had won huge amounts of money where I was able to pay off debts, but then I had a whole bunch of money left over. And you would think, oh, now I can put that money in good use and save it or invest it. No. That was my gambling money. That was my money so I could go back out and keep doing my addiction at a high level and be a big shot. Go sit down at a table and throw like a big wad of money down. Like, yeah, count it up. Just so some fucking other degenerate could look at me and be like, oh, this guy's fucking cool. He's betting X amount of money per hand. So if you go in, if you're the type of person that's like, I have $200 to gamble tonight, and that's how much you lose and you leave, then you are probably not a problem gambler. If you're like, this is what I can afford to lose, $200. If I'm going to Vegas on my trip, I'm going to bring $2,000 to gamble on my week-long trip to Vegas with me. And that's all you gamble, then you are doing it right. If you can afford to lose that money and that you set that budget for it. I didn't even fucking make a budget for anything, let alone gambling before. I don't even know. I have one now. I look at it all the time. I try to use it and stick by it and update it. That's like new for me. One of the worst things I ever had to do was there was a year where I won a lot of money gambling, but I also lost a lot of money gambling. And you have to prove to the IRS that you lost more money than you won. And you can get these reports from the casinos. They're called win-loss statements. So anytime you're at a casino, you have these players cards. And you put them in when you're gambling in the slot machines or when you sit down at a blackjack or a poker table, whatever, you show them and they keep record of how your wins and losses, how much money in and how much money out. And at the end of the year, you can get these statements. If you're, when you're reporting stuff to the IRS, that way you can show, hey, I still have a loss. Because if you have a loss, if you win, you owe taxes on your winnings. If you have losses, you net, zero or negative, then you don't have to pay any taxes. I think there's some law being passed in this stupid fucking bill by this administration that is not going to allow you to write off completely all of your losses. Why they would have that, I don't know. So be aware of that if you're a gambler. Look it up. I just remember seeing that in one of the influencers I follow for this podcast. But you get these win-loss statements, and it says all the money that you gamble. And it doesn't mean like that's how much you gamble. It just means like, let's say you kept gambling over and over, more and more. You won some, you lose some, but the total that you gambled in and out. And it was shocking to me. That was like real sobering to me. That like I got one from like MGM, I got one from the Hard Rock, and it was like shocking numbers. Like just floored me, the amount of activity, time that was spent, time away from like the work I could be doing with friends, family, hanging out, creative process, and just money, and just it's fucking awful. So to answer all these questions, I didn't value money at all. All you got to do is look at these win-loss statements. I still have them on my computer for that year. And you'll see that I was not valuing money. We're talking, exponentially larger amounts than I was earning in that year that I was just fucking around with. Anyways, Degenerate signing out. Thanks for everybody for being here. If you are feeling like you might harm yourself or you're suicidal, dial 988 in Canada, the US. The rest. Go to the Wikipedia page, list the suicide crisis lines by country. They will have the place that you need to call. Reach out before you're feeling bad and you don't want to reach out anymore. And thanks for being here. I hope that you guys listened to the podcast and enjoyed it. And I will talk more about this, but I thought that was an interesting thing to talk about. Was it good? I don't know. Leave a comment. All right. I'll talk to you guys next week. Love you guys. Bye.